All right, good morning, everyone. Wow, I'm super excited to be here as your first keynote for the PDA Annual Conference. Before we get any further into my talk, you might have noticed this yellow bag. It's been hanging on my table since you've walked in. It's very important. We're going to be getting to it a little bit later on in the performance. But for right now, let's see. Oh, perfect. What is your name? Angela, you're going to guard this bag of your life. You're going to make sure that nobody goes inside this bag. Not yourself, not this gentleman here, not this guy. Looks very sneaky. Nobody goes inside the bag, Angela. Just guard it with your life. We'll rest it right here in front of your phone. Everyone, let's hear it for Angela. All right, so as Glenn mentioned, thank you for that lovely introduction, I am a magician. And I'd like to start off this morning by sharing with you what I love about magic. You see, magic challenges our assumptions of what we think we can and can't accomplish as human beings. Magic is about possibility. And the possibility of me being here today to share my story and magic with you was slim to none. It all started in 1991. I was 3 years old. I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, commonly known as ALL. I became an inpatient at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which quickly became my home away from home. Thankfully, I don't remember too much of the horrifying experiences, but I definitely remember some of the great ones. And most of those great memories involved the time that I spent with my father. My father, Dr. Don Juros, was a dentist. He dabbled in magic, and as a child, loved performing it for his family and friends. As he got older, it was something he just kept up his sleeve, just in case he ever wanted to make someone smile or amaze somebody. So my dad knew when I was in the hospital, I was this little boy who was going through these horrible experiences. He wanted to get my mind focused away from all that. So he started performing some of his magic for me. And I truly believe that because he performed this magic for me, it made me feel so much better. It was the perfect remedy for me to get out of that hospital and focused on the positive. So it wasn't long after I went into remission, I got to go home, and my dad started performing his magic whenever he got the chance. Whether it was my birthday parties, my sister's birthday parties, holidays, family events, whatever it may be. He loved doing his magic. So I'd like to take a step back from the story, share with you a little bit of magic. We're in the entertainment capital of the world, so I got to amaze you a little bit to give you that same feeling my dad gave to me. So let's have a little bit of fun. The first thing I'd love to do is go into the audience and find somebody here who has a bill. Biggest bills work best. That's right. If you have a bill, hold it up. I'm coming to find you. I promise you'll get it back. I'm not here to take your money. Yes. So if you have a bill, maybe somebody I don't know. I see Glenn holding up a bill. No. Someone I don't know. You'll get it back, I promise. I'm not here. You're at a casino. I know you have some bills on you. Oh, nice. Look at this lovely lady here. Would you mind coming up on stage? Yes. Everyone, let's hear it for her. Give her a huge round of applause.
That's what I want.
My first lovely assistant of the show.
That's what I want.
Right this way. And what is your name? Tina, thank you so much for helping us out. Right this way, after you.
But your love won't pay my
Tina, what type of bill did you bring up on stage for us? $100. Nice. What a fool. Okay, right over here. Right over. Yes, face them, smile. We're going to do something cool. Ready, Tina? I'm going to show you how it's done. Give me one of those. That was pretty good. High five. Awesome. Nice to meet you, Tina. Where are you from?
I am from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Awesome. I'm from the East Coast as well. It's sharp. It's a Sharpie. It's a horrible joke. You'll be telling that one later. I'm not a comedian. I'm a magician. There you go, Tina. Sign the bill so we know it's yours, and there's no other bill in the world that looks like this one. And what you just did was a federal offense, but I won't tell anyone, even though there's 800 people here. Okay. Show that around to everybody. So I don't want anybody here thinking I'm doing any switches or anything funky like that. This is completely up to you. This is completely fair, I should say. Have you ever heard of the art of origami? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you something pretty neat. It's a really cool Vegas trick. I'll be doing this for everyone after the show. Also, I'll be in the exhibit hall all day today, tomorrow at the Azure Group booth, so come check us out. I could do this for you as well. All right, it takes 4 folds. That's fold number 1. The creases are very important, Tina. That's fold number 1, fold number 2, fold number 3, and the 4th fold's the hardest one. It's the smallest fold. Give it a blow. Don't spit. Blow. Nice job. Okay. Then we do the unfolding. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Tina's brand new crisp $1 bill. Thank you. You could clap too, you know. That was pretty good. It's like many years of practice. There you go. Thank you. That's welcome to Vegas. Thank you. That's the show really has to go on. But thank you. Look, you see the clock? It's counting down. I need to.
I'm gonna find you later.
Okay. Everyone, let's hear it for Tina. She did a fantastic job. No, Tina, in all honesty, we'll figure something out before the end of the show. I'm really sorry about that. But that's your receipt. Don't lose that. Okay, we'll come back to you a little bit later on. But for right now, Tina was lovely. I really do need to go into the audience and find another lovely volunteer, someone beautiful. Here we go. Let's go this way. She's like, not me. No. Perfect. You, sir, in the blue shirt. Yes. Let's hear from him. Give him a round of applause. It's an interactive morning. I got to wake you guys up somehow. Right this way. I'm going to take the steps right here. Please be very careful. Don't want you to trip. We're going to do the same thing as Tina, front and center. Face them, smile. Ready? Let's show them how it's done. Go like that. No. No, that was like that. It's the music cue. We're working it. You got to work on it. Okay. Wait, let me guess. Evan. Yes, I'm good. Yeah, it's right there. Evan, where are you from?
Basel, Switzerland.
Oh, wow. Really far. Okay, awesome. Thanks for coming. All the way here to see me? That's so nice of you. All right, here we go. Evan, it involves this. What is this? A hand. See, first rule, I shouldn't say a rule, but first lesson that my dad taught me while I was sick in the hospital is I had to believe to achieve. I truly had to believe that I was going to get better in order to get more healthy. So, Evan, you have to believe, my friend. There is something in my hand. What do you see? $100. You're believing a little too hard now, my friend. 2 steps towards your right. We just want some good framing here on stage. There we go. Ready? Catch. Excellent. We're in a casino, a beautiful resort here at Red Rock. That's a pack of cards. Okay, what I'd like you to do is shuffle that invisible pack of cards for us. No, wait. Evan. You have to open the box first, my friend. One step at a time. They'd be all over the place if I threw them at you. Put the box right here on the ledge. Very good. Shuffle the cards. There's 52 of them. Go. Sound effects. There you go. Go. Nice. Go. Let's hear for Evan, everybody. Nice job, Evan. Don't drop them. I took the jokers out, though, so there's only 52, not 54 cards. Take out any card you like. It's completely free choice. Take out any one. Show it around to everybody. Please don't show me. I don't want to see it. I won't look at the monitors. Awesome. Take that card, Evan. Turn it upside down. Stick it inside your invisible deck of cards. Shuffle them up. Show off your Skittles. Show them how it's done. Nice job. Switzerland style. I like it. All right. Take the deck. Stick it back in the box. Right there on top of the ledge. Give it a toss to me whenever you're ready. Boom, nice toss, a very large deck of cards so everyone here can see. Tina, I just pulled it out from behind my table. You should have saw her face. She was like, what? Okay, it's a very large pack of cards. They're about 4 times the size of a regular deck so everyone here can see. Evan, for the first time, this is a completely free choice. We never met before, is that correct? We didn't talk before the conference or anything like that. So this is completely up to you, but I want you to choose wisely because the ace of spades, it's on the front of the box. It's a very common card, probably the most common card in a deck of cards. Another very common card, the Queen of Hearts. A lot of people always think of that one for some reason. So for the first time, nice and loud so everyone in the room could hear you, please name your card. Tell them.
King of Hearts.
King of Hearts. That's pretty close to the Queen of Hearts. You're going to wake up tonight and be like, why did I pick that card? I had 52 cards to choose from. It could be any card. You don't want to change your mind. Okay? We're going to look for one upside-down card inside this deck that Evan turned over. When you see it, please let me know. It's going to be blue. And you can let me know as well, Evan. We're just going to go through the pack. There should only be one upside-down card somewhere inside the center of this deck of cards. I hope it worked, or else we made you look really silly for no reason. Yes. But there should be one somewhere, so let me know if you see it. Okay, nice. I heard someone say they saw it. Yes. One upside-down card. Evan, go ahead, take it out. Take a peek at it. Show it to the audience. Let's hear it for Evan, everyone.
You're beautiful.
You are beautiful, Evan. Thank you so much. Nice job. Please be very careful as you make your way down. Again, thank you so much. Be very careful on your way down. You were beautiful. All right, but let's get back on track with the story. We're going to fast forward a few years. It's 1995 now. I'm 7 years old. Life started to become pretty normal for my family. I'm in first grade. My older sister, Faith, was getting used to the fact that my mom and I were living at home compared to always being at the hospital for most of her childhood. You learn this the hard way, that when you get diagnosed with cancer, you are not the only one that's affected. And my sister was a perfect case of that. So we had family game nights. We ate dinner as a family every night, had numerous family vacations. It was family, family, family. Life was great. December 1st, 1995, I went for my routine checkup at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. After my examinations, tests, all that stuff, the one thing I always looked forward to was going to the playroom and hanging out with all the other kids while my parents were getting updated with all the boring results, which you guys love that stuff, I know. It wasn't long after that I remembered my dad walking out of the exam room, and he was in complete shock. He didn't say anything. He just grabbed my hand, brought me into the nearest free conference room, and he shut the door. He began to hold me as tears ran down his face. I knew from that moment that these weren't happy tears, and something bad has had to happen. I had a relapse. I'll never forget this moment as my dad held me in that room. He hugged me so tight that I thought he was going to squeeze the cancer right out of me. We were told right from the beginning that it doesn't look good, that I actually was never in remission, that my chemo drugs prior to this have just been masking my disease. We were given two options. One was a bone marrow transplant. That quickly went right out the door because my family, friends, or anybody on the bone marrow registry was a match. So there was only one option, and that was the second option was an experimental protocol called CCG-1941. Only 4 of the patients before me went on this protocol, and unfortunately, those 4 patients did not make it. I was their 5th guinea pig. This involved a 35-day treatment of huge doses of chemotherapy drugs, about 8 different drugs, one of them being methotrexate, and the other one, which I will never forget, because we found out the hard way, I was allergic to it, was called L-sparaginase. L-sparaginase made my throat swell up so tight, making it nearly impossible for me to breathe. I remember in the hospital, I kept asking for more and more pillows to prop my head up, thinking it would be easier for me to breathe, but of course that didn't make a difference. After several comas, cardiac arrests, my blood levels reducing each and every day, this 35-day treatment quickly turned into months and months. I actually had to live at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia for over 17 months straight. I was slowly deteriorating. I was this little shriveled up, sick child in the hospital bed. The doctors told us that I was the sickest kid in the hospital. As my treatments and machines kept increasing that were keeping me alive, so did my symptoms. They kept increasing as well. I went from an 80% chance of survival to under a 5. We were told at least once a day that I wasn't going to make it through the night, that you should call your family, have them come in and say their last goodbyes. My dad knew that time was precious with me, so he had to share something special that was going to, make me focus on the positive. He remembered that when I was younger and sick in the hospital, he would perform magic for me. But this time, I'm older, I was 7, and that magic could be a great form of physical therapy. So every Tuesday night, my dad closed his dental office, drove an hour up to Children's Hospital. We live in the Atlantic City area, so he drove an hour up to Children's Hospital, and he taught me magic. it was like a light switch. I woke up. It was the craziest thing. The doctors can't really even explain it. But I became this sick little boy to being a showman. My dad taught me the patter, the jokes, all the sleight of hand. My room quickly became a magic haven, and my doctors, nurses, roommates were my audiences. The doctors even dubbed my name the Magical Chattakazam. That was my magic name. And it was also the magic word. We always said, say the magic word, Chattakazam, whenever I was pushed into surgery or had a procedure or even a CBC, like a blood test. If we said the magic word, everything would be okay. Now, you have to realize that the tricks that my dad were teaching me were the basics of magic. These were the tricks that anyone who's ever interested in magic has probably learned. So this was about 20-some years ago. I thought it would be fun to share with you one of the tricks that my dad taught me many years ago. I spruced it up a little bit, though, because it's 20 years ago since I learned this, and we're in Vegas, so we got to make it big or go home. So it involves this piece of rope. And I want you to keep this in mind as you watch this piece of rope, that every piece of rope only has two ends, one middle. Watch closely. Here we go. Two ends, one middle. Keep your eyes on them. The dangerous part of the show. Tina, we're going to cut you in half. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to cut you. She was scared. Woo! That's my floor show. You get two shows in one today. Rope number one. Keep your eyes on it. Rope number two, we'll do the same thing. Keep your eyes on it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. For all the skeptics out there, it really is on there. I promise you that. Thank you. Three pieces, that's one, that's two. Keep your eyes on them. This makes three, the long and the short. This is going to be Evan's favorite part. Watch closely, Evan. One piece of rope, thank you very much. It's good, right, Evan? Gets better, my friend. He's not impressed. Big knot. Thank you very much. Two ends, one middle. Keep your eyes on it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, three pieces of rope about the same size. That's one, that's two, and that makes one piece of rope. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not try this trick at home. That's one, that's two. Evan, should I do it? Thanks, Evan. I heard him say yes. Thank you. Once again, please do not try that trick at home. Try it at a friend's house. Yes, no, don't try it anywhere. We're going to do something fun, interactive. Like I said, magic was a great form of physical therapy, so everyone arms out. It's a little stretch. Evan, I'm watching you. Come on, here we go. There we go, arms out. Nice wiggle, wiggle. Go like this. Go like that. Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate that. So nice of you. No, here's the real trick. That was a trick and a trick. Hands back to back. So your hands are straight out, hands back to back. One hand on top of the other. Lock your fingers together. Make sure your thumbs are straight down, sir. I see you on this side. Thumbs down. Got it, Evan. Nice job. Wiggle those thumbs. Wiggle, wiggle. Now don't hurt yourself. Do this nice and slow. Roll those shoulders. Say the magic word, PDA Annual Conference. Yeah. All right, and go like this, but do not let go. Ready? How you doing? Evan, not so good? Tina? If you let go slowly, that's the end of that trick. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't hurt yourself. You can work on that later. Okay. Miraculously and magically, I started to get better. The doctors have no idea how it happened. They say it's the best magic trick of all. I was 9 years old when I got to go home, again, on an outpatient basis, but this time I was hooked up to a backpack filled with fluids. This is when I really started to fall in love with magic. I built my little magic show, pieced it all together with all these cool tricks, and performed anywhere I possibly could. Schools, block parties, social events, libraries, anybody that could take me, I'm yours. I just wanted to perform in front of an audience. Again, life started to become pretty normal for my family. Then it was October of 1998. My dad, he was an avid tennis player, very physically fit guy, came home one evening from a tennis match, and he collapsed at our front door. My mom does not take any chances, especially with everything that they went through with me. So she took my dad, and they went right to the hospital, and she demanded an MRI. The doctor said, "This is not necessary. This is distress from your son being sick. Go home, have a good night's sleep. Everything will be okay." And my dad was quick to respond, which I'm sure every husband in this room could say, that if my wife asks you to do something, you do it. So my dad had an emergency MRI that evening. And that night, he was diagnosed with glioblastoma. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, that is a malignant brain tumor. My dad was actually sick for 7 years without us even realizing it. We thought all the symptoms were stress from me being sick, but unfortunately, that was not the case. The doctors told us that this is very different than Chad's case. There is no hope, there is no cure. Get your affairs in order, you will be dead within a year. My dad wasn't taking that as an answer. He always said, it was his motto, that if Chad could survive, so can Dad. So for the next several months, my mom and dad went all around the country getting all these different treatments for his glioblastoma. But unfortunately, the only thing these treatments did was reduce my dad's quality of life. He quickly became a 3-month-old trapped in a 41-year-old body. He was the youngest person to be admitted into our local nursing home. And it was so surreal because the roles reversed. As I started performing for my dad at the bedside, as he did for me. I was 11 years old when my dad passed away at the age of 41. It was January 17th, 2000, Martin Luther King Day. And just like Martin Luther King, my dad had a dream. His dying wish was for me to continue to spread my magic across the world in the hopes that everyone can find the magic in their life as I did mine. Now, your magic could be anything. Video games, sports, music, dancing, reading, your children. It's that one positive thing that you can grab onto whenever negative impacts your life. A few years went by. It's 2003 now. I was considered cured. This was my 5-year mark off my chemotherapy treatments. And they say if you're 5 years off of chemo without a remission, you're considered cured. So I was cancer-free. I started having really bad migraines that year and isolated eye pain. My doctors told us that isolated eye pain and migraines aren't a sign of a relapse, but if you're complaining, there probably is something wrong. I may not look like much, but I'm kind of a tough cookie. My dad being a dentist, I had Novocaines without any filling. I had my fillings without any Novocaine. I had spinal taps without any numbness. It was pretty crazy, the things that I went through, and I held in the pain. So we went for an emergency MRI. We weren't messing around with this. The doctors told me that it wasn't cancerous and it wasn't a relapse, but it had to be fixed. We found out that I was bleeding from the brain as a result of the chemotherapy and radiation treatments. It was called a cavernoma hemangioma venous angioma. Say that 5 times fast. Holy moly. Yes, cavernoma hemangioma venous angioma. As a result of the surgery, the doctor said that I could have permanent paralysis, which means I wouldn't be able to do my magic ever again. It was the one thing I left from my father that they were going to take away from me. So I performed my magic show in May of 2003 for what I thought would be the last time in a playroom at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. I had all the markings in my head, ready to go in the surgery, and as soon as I was finished with my show, the doctors put me on the gurney, and they pushed me into the ER. The doctor said, say the magic word, Chattakazam. I came out of surgery 4 hours later. As soon as I awoke from my coma, the first thing I did was I reached for a deck of playing cards. And I shuffled, fanned them, did all those cool flourishes the magicians do to make sure I still had all the same abilities that I had before the surgery. And I did. The doctors were floored. Again, it was another miracle, and they have no idea how I had such little symptoms due to the surgery. Side effects, I should say, not symptoms. They swore that they hit a vein or something that was going to cause a serious side effect, but that wasn't the case. And they also said the fact that I had these abilities of being a magician, the sleight of hand, I also know how to juggle. These were amazing motor skills for my brain that helped me to recover much faster than their average patient. I spent a week in the hospital just recovering and resting. After that, I went home and again rested for like another month or two, and then I went right back into my magic thing full throttle. It was there I started getting calls from the White House, famous magicians from Las Vegas right here, Penn and Teller, David Copperfield, people like that, saying that they want to meet me and take me underneath their wing. I got to perform at the White House, and after that was invited back 2 more times. It was such an honor. I'm actually the youngest magician ever to perform at the White House. From there, I was on international television, and because of that TV show, the Prime Minister of Aruba woke up one evening and saw me on TV and invited me to come perform at Aruba. I did that twice. It was amazing. So, again, life was great. I was living my dream, being a magician. That same year, I started an organization called the Spread the Magic Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization that helps raise money for pediatric cancer in the hopes that everyone can find the magic in their life as I did mine. I do this by putting on benefit magic shows to help raise money for the cause. I visit hospitals whenever I could get the chance to perform for patients so they could be, inspired to focus on the positive. And the third thing we do is I also have a DVD which I produced, and it's hosted by me, and it teaches simple bedside magic so patients can learn magic tricks to keep their mind focused on the positive. I'm so honored and thrilled and so just ecstatic of what Spread the Magic has done in the past couple of years, and I'm sure it's going to keep growing and growing and growing because that's what I'm doing here. I'm spreading my magic. Today, I'm considered cured. A few side effects here or there, but no big deal, whatever. As long as I could do my magic, I'm living my dream. I run a full-service entertainment company called Captivate Entertainment Marketing, or Captivatem for short. I'm in partnership with this amazing pharmaceutical company, which is one of your sponsors here at PDA, called Azor Group. We're going to be in the exhibit hall, and I don't know if Azor Group's in the room, but I love you guys. We'll be in the exhibit hall, and I'll be doing magic for the next couple of days. Please come check us out. We're at booth 507, and that was my shameful plug. Sorry about that. But what I realized after time is that this whole idea my dad had of diverting my attention away from the negative by teaching me something positive was a magic trick in itself. You see, a magician's job is to divert our audience's attention away from where the real magic is happening. And that's exactly what my dad did for me. He taught me this amazing skill while you guys, the true magicians in this world, were creating these miracle treatments and services that saved my life. I'll admit it. I am just an actor who plays the part of a magician. I don't know real magic. But what I do know is that I'm living proof that because of the hard work that each and every one of you do in this room, no matter how big or small of a job it may be, does make a difference. I don't know how I could ever repay any of you. Well, actually, I do know how I could repay one of you. Evan, I feel really bad what happened to your $10 bill. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it was Tina. I feel really bad what happened to your $5 bill. I really do. I do, yes. Yes, I know it was a 10. Relax. No, your $100 bill. Tina, do you still have the $1 bill? Your receipts? Would you mind bringing that up here on stage? And before you come all the way up here on stage, I'd like you to grab the bag from Angela. And everyone give Angela a round of applause. She's been guarding this bag during the entire talk so far. So Tina, Angela is right over here. If you could grab the bag from her, I really appreciate that. And while she's coming up on stage with the bag, don't go inside it yet. We're going to do that in just a few moments. By a show of hands, who has ever heard of Alex's Lemonade Stand? Ooh, a lot of you. That's great. And for those of you who haven't, you've heard of it as well? Okay, right over here, Tina. On the East Coast, there's a very well-known foundation called Alex's Lemonade. Alex's Lemonade all got started by a little girl named Alex Scott. Alex Scott was my roommate in the hospital. She was an amazing friend. And Alex, whenever she was released for a few hours or maybe a day from the hospital, because she was receiving her chemotherapy treatments as well, she opened up a lemonade stand on her front lawn to help raise money for pediatric cancer. At one point, it became this huge nationwide thing, and they actually sell her lemonade at convenience stores on the East Coast. They also have lemonade stands to raise money for this amazing cause. Unfortunately, she passed away at the age of 9. Before she passed away, she gave me this bag. This bag belonged to Alex. It means so much to me. If Tina can notice, because she's like the audience's eyes and ears right now, there's a bunch of lemons embroidered all over this bag, which you could see in the on the screens. So this bag means so much to me. All right, and I love watching game shows. Okay, we're going to change the subject a little bit. Love watching game shows. I love the game show Let's Make a Deal. So we're going to do a little deal making here, okay? Would you like to keep the dollar, or would you like what's inside the bag? And there's no zonks, no zonks. The bag, good choice. I'll take the dollar. Okay. Now, Tina, earlier, let's recap a little bit. We never met before, correct? It's similar to like what happened with Evan. We never met before, and we made this amazing thing happen. Inside this bag, you're going to tell the audience what you see.
A lemon.
A lemon. A big, juicy lemon, yes. And earlier, you let us borrow a bill. Okay, and I was very rude, and I changed it into something else for you. It wasn't very much fun. That little Sunkist sticker was caught in the bottom of the bag, but I got it. Here, you could keep that. Souvenir. Might be worthless one day. Yes. And I want to be very fair here. You get the closest view, closer than anybody else. So stay right where you are. I have a knife here. There it is. And we're going to do a little bit of lemon surgery. Okay? And I want to be very fair. All we have is just the lemon and the knife. Nothing more. I'm sure Tony, the awesome cameraman, will get a close shot of this so you guys could get a very nice view. You could get a little bit of a closer view too, Tina. I don't want you to miss this. All right. Place this over here. Inside the middle of the lemon. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of lemon juice on your stage, but it's just going to clean it up, I promise. I don't want to touch it, because that would be cheating. I don't want you to think I'm switching anything out. So pluck that out for us, Tina. You could have given me any type of bill to use for this trick, but you gave us what type of bill? $100 bill. And look, you can even show the camera, so just show it straight. I'm sure Tony will get a shot. There is the number 100 on the side of that bill. So far, so good. But there's only one way we can know that this is your 100, and that is of your signatures on the front. Let's go and open it up nice and slow for us. Show it to the audience. Let's hear it for Tina. Thank you so much, Tina. That will dry off momentarily. But thank you very much. Be very careful as you make your way down. She was a good sport. I know you were worried about your money, but you got it back. So, I'd like to close by thanking each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. See, without you guys, I wouldn't have been able to make my father's dying wish my living wish. So I hope I was able to inspire each and every one of you to try to find the magic in your life, and I hope I was able to spread my magic. Thank you all so much. Hope you have an amazing time here at PDA Annual. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I've always heard that you should never follow animals and children, so I don't know what it means to follow a magician, so wish me luck here. But it is quite interesting, and in all seriousness, Chad's discussion on acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And when I read his bio, in fact, and knew that I was going to be presenting to the PDA, I was inspired, and I will say that I'm even now more inspired after listening to Chad. You'll hear a bit in my talk that we too are used to working with the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and in some cases I hear the docs down at that institution calling people like Chad chop kids. And so we have a few of our own that we'd like to discuss. So with that said, my talk today is on regenerative medicine or personalized medicine. There's lots of different names for this these days, and even most recently, we're hearing from the White House of program called Precision Medicine. So just out of curiosity, who in this room is either working in or directly around personalized medicine, regenerative medicine, cellular therapy, gene therapy, precision medicine? Who could I see? All right, very good. So at each of these conventions, we notice more and more that there are more people involved in this. And in our view, this indeed is the future of healthcare. Quick waiver that my lawyer at Novartis made me include. So we're writing a book here. We're writing a book on cell and gene therapy at Novartis, and we consider it the next transformative pillar of medicine. And as Glenn mentioned, my work at Novartis is to lead the technical operations of the cell and gene unit, as well as the Morris Plains facility, which I'll discuss in a moment. And as I challenge my team and as I speak to them, I let them know that they are indeed writing a very important story. And they have the opportunity as a part of this program to be on this side of discovery that likely they'll never see in their lives again. I remind them that it takes perseverance and that this is not a quick read. This is not a beach read. This is a novel, and in some cases it requires rewrites and to get us to where we want to go. So I want to share with you a little bit of a meeting that happened a couple of weeks ago. And you see a photograph here, and this is a group of physicians from the University of Pennsylvania, facilitated by our head of the cell and gene unit, Oz Azam. And they came and they told us their story. Now, some of you may remember Dr. Carl June, who I believe was standing right here a couple of years ago at this meeting. So Dr. June was the innovator of the CTL019 program that I'm going to discuss in a moment. Beside Dr. June, you see Steve Grubb, so he's a principal investigator in pediatrics. Beside Steve, you see Dr. David Porter working with adults, and beside David Porter, you see Professor Bruce Levine, who is my counterpart in the CMC side from the University of Pennsylvania, responsible for some of the discovery and the development of this CTL process. So how did this become interesting to Novartis? How did this become even more interesting to patients around the world? And I should mention, this is why we're here, and this is what gets us excited at Novartis. It's what gets me excited and gets me up every day. So in 2011, there was a journal article, chimeric antigen receptor modified T cells. This was chronic lymphoid leukemia, so this was CLL. Shortly thereafter, they opened some trials at the University of Pennsylvania for ALL. So as Chad discussed, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, 3 adults treated with this remarkable technology and went into complete remission. So then people started to take notice. This was followed by a New York Times article, the opening of the first pediatric patient for ALL. This was Emily Whitehead. Some of you may be familiar with Emily's story. She was brought in and really had no other choice. She was destined to die from her disease. Many rounds of chemo at the very, very end of her life. After receiving this treatment and managing her treatment, she has now been cancer-free for 3 years. Breakthrough therapy designated in July in 2012, then most recently, October 2014, New England Journal of Medicine, 90% complete recovery, complete remission out of 27 out of 30 adult and pediatric patients for relapsed and refractory ALL. So how does this work? Well, first of all, this is what we would like to call vein to vein, arm to arm. So this is truly autologous cellular therapy where we're taking the cells from a patient and re-engineering those cells, then injecting them back into the patient. So they are harvested at an apheresis center, a leukapheresis center. The T cells are then activated, so taking the T cells from that patient, activated and genetically transduced ex vivo with a construct encoding the CD19 chimeric antigen receptor. So this is a transduction using a lentivirus. The cells then undergo expansion using antibody-covered beads. The patient may or may not be receiving chemotherapy simultaneously with this treatment. Then the CTL cells are reinfused into the patient where they undergo in vivo expansion and target CD19 for destruction. This all happens within a period of 21 days. So now I'd like to show you a little bit of our magic. So what you see here, if we can start the video, what you see here is B cells with leukemia, leukemia-ridden B cells. Here comes the CART cells, and you see what's happening. Effectively destroying the disease. Okay, let's move. So when this all became interesting and we started to see, and Novartis started to see that patients' lives were truly being transformed, that people were being saved of their disease, then we started to talk. Novartis started to talk to UPenn. And this is a slide, actually, that Carl June showed a couple of years ago, and I thought it would be interesting to bring this back, because if you look at it, you see a little bit of the progress over the last 2 years. So they were looking for a partner that could support them in adaptive clinical development. This has been happening at Novartis through our Novartis Institute of Biomedical Research, or NIBR, as we call it, working very closely, and in some cases, even more quickly than UPenn, to develop new constructs to continue this amazing clinical development. If you look at the bottom box, also interface for physicians and patients. So this is where the commercialization step occurs. Now, nobody has commercialized such a therapy. We know the challenges with commercializing a standard pharmaceutical. You can imagine what it means to commercialize a therapy such as this, an autologous cellular and gene therapy. It's not so easy, but we're already at work on this. And based on the remarkable results, we know that this will be commercialized, and we will be able to provide this to patients around the world. And what I'm going to speak about for the remainder of my talk is manufacturing and supply chain. So Penn, when they were looking for a partner, they did mention, and I thought it was interesting that Carl mentioned why they chose Novartis, and they said it was a story of Gleevec and the ability to get that product on the market so quickly. But the transition from a small academic laboratory, right, to a large cGMP facility, a central manufacturing option, this was the challenge, and indeed is the challenge. They were looking for an organization that could support that. Also, they were very keen to and important to develop a sophisticated tracking system to ensure overall chain of custody. You want the T cells of the patient to go back into that patient. So very quickly, the vision to industrialize came to fruition, collaboration and license agreement with UPenn. Then very quickly, Novartis made the decision to purchase the Morris Plains facility where I report to work every day, a former Dendreon facility with employees and associates experienced in autologous cell therapy, as well as an FDA-audited facility. So what have we done? We've gone to work in looking at this problem, a very interesting problem statement, and often I see lots written about CART technologies these days. There are other technologies that are out there. And in many cases, people are very creative of restating the problem statement, in some cases not as creative at coming up with solutions. But here you see the complexity. You see an interface with the treatment centers, with the clinical organizations, with the cell processing center, that's us, at Morris Plains, as well as interaction with the physicians and with the patients. Very difficult. So how does one address complexity? What do you think? Well, a little bit at a time. You have to break it down in its basic parts, use some of the fundamental tools, value stream mapping, and really understand how we're going to address it, and make sure all the while that we're doing that we're optimizing the whole system, not sub-optimizing the smaller bits. We also need to ensure that this product is fully characterized. This is difficult. Again, there's not been a playbook written in this space. So it's up to us to figure this out, to understand what it means to characterize T-cell percentages. And the other, when we look at our process, which is relatively complex right now, there's any number of intermediate steps that are critical to this. Transduction efficiency would be another one. Importantly is also analytical development and establishing a potency assay for release of this product. All of the work that we've been very busy to perform following the transaction, leveraging our talent and our teams from around the world to bring this to fruition. Manufacturing improvements must continue. So cryopreservation, right? I'm sure there's some cryopreservation people in the room that understand the science of this, and control rate freezing. Cells, you need to make sure that we understand how these cells are being frozen. Our goal is to transport these cells all around the world and to be able to meet the needs of patients all around the world as well. And variability reduction is critical, right? So we don't like variability in this room. We're a bunch of ops people and regulators and quality people, and so I love talking to groups like this. We want to kill variability wherever it exists. And interestingly enough, in this space, in this area, variability can be high. You're dealing with human cells. And I remember early on in my journey, with another organization starting a small cell therapy CMO out of a small normal human and animal cell laboratory where we just leverage the people, leverage the small suite. I was always told, hey, don't touch this stuff. That variability reduction stuff really does not work in this area because human cells are highly variable. Step back from that, go and look at, biologics or something else, because that's where you can spend your time. Well, I couldn't disagree more. We need to take a look at all the variability surrounding the human cells and work towards the reduction of that so that we can bring this to bear. Controlling material variability. This product alone that I'm talking about has over 200 SKUs, lots of consumables, and variability comes in our doors, comes in our receiving doors. We need to control the process variability and the transport variability. We're moving materials again, and right now throughout the United States for the open trial, soon to be outside of the United States. It's important that our transporters recognize the severity of the material they're dealing with. Well, that's just not done. We have to truly understand this and work towards improving. And minimizing analytical variability. Again, it's not just the production, it's how we analyze it, it's how we develop our QC assays, and it's critically important that we do this. And statistics helps us here. You'll hear in a moment that I believe that as this industry transforms, we're going to be looking for new and different talent than just cell biologists. So where are the statisticians in the room? A shout out, I see Abe over there, my colleague from Novartis, right? These are the people that are going to help us on this journey, because data is absolutely critical. We also have a cost of goods challenge. We need to make this affordable. We need to make this available to patients around the world. Right now, this is a highly laborious process. Having run a number of models on labor, you recognize that really you truly do not scale up, you scale out, and with that scale out means lots and lots of people with the potential for human error, and again, increased variability. So how do we do that? Automation, and I'll get to that here in a moment. Materials as well. Lots of single source materials. The sourcing head of our unit has become my new best friend. As we've taken over an academic process, you can imagine that in that hospital, they were not particularly looking at second sourcing. So it's critically important. Media is a challenge with this. Lots of cell culture media. It's important that we have the right media optimized the right way. And we're continuing to spend time on that and making that a top priority. And then ultimately also manufacturing overhead. So we need to look at creating a compelling asset strategy. There's a number of models, whether it be a central manufacturing model, a regional model, or what we're calling now a point of care model, where you would co-locate the laboratory right with the hospital, be able to ship the product right back to the hospital. Well, that also comes with some unique challenges because hospitals in most cases are not set up as CGMP facilities, and it's critically important that we manage this with the highest level of compliance. So what is the solution? Well, here quite simply it is the next generation of equipment. We need our equipment manufacturers that are out there. I can't wait to go to the hall. I've seen some of you already this morning to innovate with us, innovate ahead of us. We'll have partners in this space, and it's important that we take each stage of this process and that we automate it as quickly as possible. Process improvements. I do indeed believe that continuous improvement is important in this area. And we need to look at not only how the product flow, but how the people flow. Value stream mapping, spaghetti diagramming, these are all the things that we're doing in Morris Plains and we'll be doing around the world in short order. Making sure we have the right systems as well, the right electronic systems. I'm sure there's people out here as well that are working with MES systems or electronic batch records and LIMS systems. These are going to be absolutely critical, data integration systems. But the ticket to the dance is a good tech transfer. This is a little bit of a look at our tech transfer from the University of Pennsylvania to Morris Plains. I think it's important to say that, first of all, project management is absolutely essential. Good project managers sometimes are hard to find, but the reality is they're critically important to a program like this. And the pre-planning is absolutely essential. Without the right pre-planning, the transfer typically will not progress well. Data mining, again, gleaning lots and lots of data. The University of Pennsylvania, that was quite interesting. I don't know if Abe was a part of that exercise, Canute, but the reality is that not a lot was captured electronically, again, in a hospital setting. So it was an interesting exercise to go down and glean data from batch records and to use that data because that data is going to be absolutely critical to our success. Then proceed through a series of runs, test runs, engineering runs, comparability runs. Obviously, at the same time, getting Novartis's regulatory machine at work so that we're ready to file, then can begin clinical manufacturing. I love this model, and it's in need of refinement because we're going to use it for other transfers. As we look at going ex-US, as we look at bringing in additional programs that will be critical to our success, we're creating a tech transfer machine, as I like to call it. Supply chain, also complex. You see here, obtaining the human cells. So there's a patient, the cell processing center, the transfer, the treating physicians, then the infusion back to the patient. I'd like to point out with this slide one thing. It's also important that we standardize the apheresis centers because that ultimately is part of our product. So you need to make sure that the apheresis that these children, that these adults are giving is not contaminated and that they're using standardized procedures, standardized equipment. This is where this all begins. Chain of identity, I mentioned it. We need to make sure that the right cells are getting into the right patient. This is critically important. And we have a system, a customized system that has been in development actually quite for some time. And it does just that without the necessity of cumbersome labeling, but being able to use systems to be able to manage this very important chain of identity. Then there's data. Data. I don't know about you, but I've seen data being managed well, and I've seen it being managed poorly in my past. Many times data is managed in silos. You have one group managing data over here, you have another group managing data over here, and it's not really integrated. At Novartis, we're really moving towards what I would almost call a translational medicine model, where we want to be able to take data that's being gathered at the apheresis center. It's used very quickly throughout the process and development to make rapid decisions, not only to bring a CTL019 to bear, but perhaps other new products and programs that might be coming for other types of cancers, other types of hematological malignancies that we're currently working on with ourselves in Novartis, but also with the University of Pennsylvania. It will be essential as well to that product characterization that the agencies and the health authorities will absolutely require, that this data is being managed. So it can't be enough. Then there's automation. Extremely manual now. We need to take a stepwise approach to progressing from a manual process to a semi-automated solution, and ultimately to a fully automated solution. It's hard to kind of skip over, I think, the semi-automated part. There might be some that would argue, but to take a process like this and to create a high throughput model is not exactly the easiest thing to do. So I think the key is to automate it in subparts, then again, where our partners in automation are also advancing, then perhaps we can get to a point where we have, if you will, a black box when the cells go in and then they come out as cart cells and ready to ship. All occurring within a modular clean room of the future. May not be the typical clean room that we see now. It's a big clean room, lots of hospital equipment, other types of equipment, perhaps not the most conducive to these processes moving forward. So here you see a rudimentary process, much like the ones that we have. Of course, ours is a little bit more detailed, but you see the basic parts. The one thing I'd like to point out is the quality control piece. That's critically important as well. A lean lab approach, a lean QC lab. Very important that these assays, these tests, occur very quickly because we're making decisions, whether it be cell selection decisions or other critical process decisions in process. 21 days. These are kids that are dying. These are people that are dying. It's important that we have the right rapid assays in place. So here's a question. So I had my continuous improvement, I'll call it the lean aha moment, a number of years ago, probably 15 years ago, aging myself, right? So has anybody done these lean exercises where you take and you build something and you do it in the traditional batch and queue? You may have put Legos together. I built a clock, and you see it. It's very fun, and you set it up like a table like this, and the material comes across, and you get lots of work in progress, and the customer orders keep coming, work in process, and then it just piles all up because everybody's used to the traditional way of working where you just kind of do a little bit of everything. Then you come in and you get new instruction and you create the flow, and then you start to see increased throughput, you see smiley customers, and you see no work in process. So I would argue that we can look towards a model like this in autologous cellular therapy. So this might be a conventional clean room setup where you're preparing in there, you're doing the cell selection, you're transducing, you're expanding, you're formulating, you're filling and finishing, and then you're maybe even cryoing in there, right? Maybe with the same 5 people. They're generalists, right? Batch and queue. I think this is pretty prevalent. Is this the right way? I don't think so. Maybe look at a model like this, a work cell model. Either a small clean room or a small work cell within a large clean room, a modular clean room within a clean room. You break it up in smaller parts. You assign specialists to each of these tasks. You move it through more quickly. There's a lot of demand, a lot of people dying of these cancers. Our objective is to meet these demands, obviously, when we go commercial and continue to increase our capacity. This allows us to do this. Lean principles will also facilitate scalability. I like the idea of lean hospital. I used to be an EMT paramedic, again, way too long ago. And I remember the time that I was bringing in people to the ER. And the ER was very traditional back then, and people were backed up, and people were unhappy, and you might have a heart attack patient sitting right beside somebody with a laceration, and the same nurses were looking after them, and it was very chaotic, and people were unhappy. I remember that time when they shut down the ER, they moved the treatment to another part of the hospital, came back a few weeks later, and it was like, wow, there's a triage desk, there's visual indicators. You can move these patients more quickly. You have the respiratory therapist coming in right behind the prep nurses, and then the physician comes in. This has transformed hospitals, right? Hospitals were running into problems. Those of you who have had medical procedures recognize this. In most cases, the treatment is good. They've had to be to stay competitive, to stay in business, right? And so with that said, I think that this is not a lot different because what we're dealing with is a patient through our facilities. So we need to perhaps use that model to look at how we produce autologous cell therapies. And then there's this question of globalization. Very important to Novartis being a huge global company, 150,000 associates around the world. The opportunity to make decisions, again, to bring this to bear to the many. capitalizing either on a central manufacturing approach where you might have a Morris Plains, New Jersey facility as a center of excellence with the ability to export around the world, making sure that, again, all of our regulation is buttoned up, that we have the right declarations in place to do that. Or we might consider a regional model, or again, another option being the point of care. And then there's the talent race. So Dr. Levine, Bruce Levine, loves to tell this story, credited him for it at the end, but he says, you know, what we're doing, Jeff, we're hiring automobile mechanics. Go back and read about the challenges of mass production of the Model T in the Henry Ford era, right? Look at what happened back then. It was pretty cool. I mean, these guys, Henry Ford was able to figure this out to bring the price down, and they were turning out vehicles. Well, who was making them? There was a real challenge for that, and who was making them, and who were the auto mechanics? Read a book on this, and it says in the 1890s, any mechanic with the tools, a workbench, and a healthy imagination was a potential titan in this infant industry. Well, I think that's what we're sitting on. So we're having fun with it. We're bringing in people with different skill sets. We're investing in the right technical training. We just opened a world-class training center in our Morris Plains site last week where we're going to train our own internal talent. We're going to be able to bring in our partners from around the world to be trained so we can get this treatment in the hands of others. I think the next generation of employees will be statisticians, engineers, process engineers, supply chain and sourcing people, along with cell biologists, scientists at all levels that are interested, they have the imagination, the desire, and the perseverance to learn this skill. And what are Novartis doing? Well, Novartis has invested big. So we created a unit in May of last year, which is unprecedented for Novartis, a standalone unit outside of the other businesses to facilitate focus. Sometimes it's hard to be nimble in a large company, and there was that recognition. And so what we have now is an individual or independent unit with the ability to leverage what I like to call the Novartis machine to get things done more quickly. We truly believe that cell and gene therapies are the key to the future of the pharmaceutical industry. Working with colleagues around the world, Basel, Switzerland, Evan, who was up here so kindly being the associate here for Chad, Evan working in Basel, Abe, others, bringing this to bear, clinical development over there, the ability to partner. Cambridge, Massachusetts, co-located with, again, the NIBR organization, the Novartis Institute of Biomedical Research, being able to partner very closely with them. East Hanover, where our clinical operations are headquartered, as well as what I like to call the heartbeat of the unit, Morris Plains, New Jersey, where the value is ultimately created. So 1 minute left. In conclusion, here's what we have, and I think it's fair to say that innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. And I found another Steve Jobs quote that I particularly like, because at Novartis these days, we're talking a lot about courage as a new value. We need to have courage to move into new areas. We need to have courage as leaders. We need to have courage as technologists, as scientists. And Steve Jobs said, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. They somehow know what you truly want to become. And that's what this is about for us. It's about patients like Chad. It's about patients like Emily. It's about saving lives, and we are very excited to have this tremendous opportunity to do this. And finally, the next chapter, maybe you'll have someone back in a few years. How do we bring this to bear? The next chapter is commercialization. That said, I'd like to thank my colleagues that supported me with this and wish you a great conference.
Thank you, John. Appreciate the introduction. As John mentioned, I have a background in management consulting, and one of the advantages of being a consultant for over 10 years is it's given me an opportunity to work across companies, and varied companies from large biotech, pharma companies, medical distribution, as well as global health foundations and private equity firms. And I hope that I'm able to bring to bear some of that experience, as well as research from my colleagues at PwC, as I talk to you today about two topics. First, I'm going to touch upon 5 mega trends, 5 forces that are shaping the global business environment, and what might be some of the implications for the pharma industry. And then secondly, I'd like to talk about Operational Excellence Index, OEI, a novel way to take a look at operating performance and integrate cost, service, and risk into the decision-making framework. Our original intent was to focus on the OEI part of the presentation, and in discussions and preparation for the conference, there's a suggestion to kind of provide a big picture perspective. So the mega trends will serve as kind of the big picture perspective, and the OEI discussion hopefully will talk about some tools and frameworks that will be useful in an operations and manufacturing environment. So what are the mega trends? We at PwC believe that there are 5 macroeconomic forces that are shaping the business world across industries, not just limited to the pharma life sciences industry, but with significant implications for the pharma life sciences industry. Many of the companies that we work with have been studying these mega trends and have been refining their strategies to take advantage of these mega trends, not just for the immediate near-term impact, but more importantly, to stay relevant to their customers, to the changing environment. Another way to think about this is for those companies that risk not focusing on the mega trends, they could perhaps become irrelevant to some part of society in the future. So moving to the first mega trend here. The first one is demographic shifts. There's been explosive population growth in certain countries, while other countries such as Japan have shrunk in population. While that's an interesting headline, the numbers and the details are staggering. A population is expected to grow by over 1 billion people by 2050. Just in the next decade, there are expected to be 300 million more people that will be over 65 years of age. By 2050, it is expected that about half of the population growth from now until 2050 will come from countries in Africa. So some very significant population shifts or demographic shifts that are affecting business. There is, of course, the aging of the population. The aging population has implications for the health system in that we, for example, in the US, tend to spend about 80% more on an average to treat somebody who is 65 years and older as compared to, say, somebody in the 45 to 64 years age. As a result, there's going to be a greater share of global GDP that will be dedicated to the health industry, and of course, the pharma industry as well. The pharmaceutical industry, we expect, will grow to over $1.6 trillion from the current about $1 trillion. Emerging markets will constitute a greater portion of that growth, which will also mean that new operating models, new business models, will need to be put in place as companies think about tapping into these shifts in demographics and leveraging those as opportunities rather than challenges. We expect that patients will become consumers first, and as a result will demand greater transparency and accountability from pharma companies as well as the overall health system. The second mega trend is a shift in economic power. By 2050, we expect that the E7 countries, which is the BRIC countries plus Turkey, Indonesia, and Mexico, on the basis of purchasing power parity, will be twice as large as the G7 countries. So pretty staggering shift in terms of economic potential, economic power. Even sooner, by 2030, for example, all of the E7 countries, the emerging 7 countries, will be amongst the top 12 economies globally. And even more near term, in the next year or two, we expect that the size of the middle class in Asia Pacific, for example, will exceed the size of the middle class in Europe and North America combined. So the implications are significant across industries as the developing countries, the E7 countries, move from becoming centers of production and labor to becoming more consumption-oriented economies. As a result, new health economies will be created, and there'll be shifts and challenges for existing players. We expect that governments will compete in this new environment with tax and regulation, as well as investment support. We are already seeing that in terms of increased demand for localization, for example, in some of the emerging countries, both in terms of research and manufacturing. This multipolar world will also reshape the overall competitive and operating environment for pharma companies. In developed markets such as the US, there's a change in the flow of funds within the economy, which means that other players in the health ecosystem will have perhaps a greater say in collaborating with pharma and life sciences companies with regards to their portfolio and their pipeline. Governments and patients across the world will demand more cost-effective treatments and reduction in the overall cost of care. There's increased competition expected from generics and biosimilars, and companies will need to look for new partnership opportunities. These shifts in economic power will also create and accelerate the need for mergers and acquisitions. Companies that are able to leverage their traditional competencies and, more importantly, build new skill sets and tailor their approaches to the shift in economic power will benefit in the longer term. The third megatrend is increased accelerated urbanization. Currently, about 50% of the world's population lives in cities. UN projects that by 2030, that number will increase to 70%. On a daily basis, about 60,000 people are added to the Chinese and Indian population every day. The downstream health impact, the health consequences on the health economy, on pharma life sciences companies are significant. The changes in terms of increased urbanization and changes in dietary and lifestyle patterns will lead to increase in chronic diseases, will require new ways for companies to reach their consumers, their patients. They'll look for new opportunities to engage with the patients, as well as creating some challenges for supply chains and sales and marketing efforts on an operational basis. The fourth megatrend is around climate change and scarcity of resources. It's projected that by 2030, there'll be a 50% increase in the demand for energy. Water withdrawals are expected to go up by 40%. Demand for food is expected to increase by 35%. These changes, we believe, have implications across the operations of pharma life science companies, from research and product development to supply chain and delivery. Take, for example, the implications of shortages of water for treatments that require hydration, or the impact of shortages in electricity for delivering drugs that need to be in a cold chain or within certain temperature specifications to maintain their integrity. There will also likely be increased uncertainty and political turmoil as a result of scarcity of resources. We expect that geopolitical and supply chain risks will become more critically important and will need to be taken into account as companies make their strategic choices. Finally, the fifth mega trend is around technology breakthroughs, not just within the pharma life sciences industry, but across industries. Advances in science, for example, genomics, will create tremendous opportunities for new treatments. The advances in computing and analytics will create new platforms that will help reduce the cost and increase the access of personalized medicine over time. These shifts in technology will also create new opportunities for partnerships across new set of stakeholders for pharma and life sciences companies, across working more closely with technology companies and academic institutions. This trend will create an opportunity for new relationships across the industry. More broadly speaking, though, the technology breakthroughs could have a significant impact, significant structural impact on the pharma life sciences industry. Technology will further propagate virtual operating environments and operating models away from physical ones, creating challenges for managers and executives that are overseeing larger, more complex, perhaps more virtual supply chains. Healthcare companies will need to engage with and communicate with customers and patients in new and different ways. Technology is enabling innovation in this field. It's also prompting new entrants to come into the new health economy. For example, a recent PwC survey showed that about 24 of the Fortune 50 companies are looking to enter the new health economy in one way or the other, and only 14 of those companies are healthcare companies. So there will be opportunities for companies that are able to leverage technology, that are able to innovate, that are able to create new and innovative approaches to engaging customers that go beyond just the traditional players within the health ecosystem, that will impact pharma and life sciences companies as well. At the same time, expiring patents and increased competition from generics and biosimilars will drive large pharma companies to pay up for drug pipelines. This will accelerate the trend of acquisitions and transactions more broadly, not just mergers and acquisitions. Transaction skills in terms of joint ventures, co-development, mergers and acquisitions, carve-outs will become a more critical competency for pharma and life sciences companies. From the perspective of an operations executive, from the perspective of a manufacturing executive, there are significant challenges that these megatrends pose. More specifically, the increase in complexity and increase in fragmentation of the supply chain, greater competition with stronger demands on reducing cost while improving service, growing regulatory and compliance requirements, and greater potential for risk as the scale and complexity of the operating environment changes. These trends are having a meaningful impact even today on operations executives. As we transition from the mega trends to touch upon OEI, the Operational Effectiveness Index, when we engage with and talk to operations executives, manufacturing and supply chain executives, there are a few common themes that jump out in terms of how companies are looking to prepare themselves for the future. And some of the themes that come out are, what is an effective way for me as an operations executive to communicate operating performance, not just within the operations footprint, but also to key stakeholders such as CFOs. The other question or other theme is, over the last few years, operations has made significant contributions to the bottom line, but how do I know how far to go? Or even better, how far is too far, and how much is too much in terms of improving operational effectiveness and efficiencies? And is there a decision framework that can better inform some of the strategic operations decisions that need to be made in the future? We believe that a good way to look at operational effectiveness is across three key dimensions of cost, service, and risk. While traditionally, these dimensions get looked at either individually or on a siloed basis, we believe that it's really powerful to be able to look at the interplay across all three of these dimensions in making key operations decisions. So how do you balance cost versus risk versus service? And what is the optimal point at which you would want to make operating decisions, either comparing your operations across the network or making key decisions in terms of consolidation or growth? The OEI snapshot, the Operational Effectiveness Index, is an effective way to do that. It takes the three dimensions of service, cost, and risk and drills it down into a handful of key metrics that can be looked at across the entire network, both to compare existing performance as well as comparing it to benchmarks to help inform the right set of operating effectiveness decisions. Such a tool can also be used not just for internal operations, but in this example, as shown in this example, to track and measure the relative performance across external supply networks or CMOs as a supplier or partner management capability as well. We truly believe that by looking at operations effectiveness in a multidimensional way, by combining it with the right operations, expertise, and comparisons and benchmarks, a framework such as OEI can inform several critical decisions for operations executives, including baselining of operations, looking for comparisons within the CMO or external supply network, providing a consistent way to visualize operational effectiveness that can be communicated from the plant floor to the C-suite for communications with the CFOs, and more importantly, to help define the boundaries of how far is too far when it comes to making changes to operations and reducing cost. I hope that I've met the two objectives that I set out at the start of the talk. First of all, to give you a bigger picture view of some of the forces that are shaping global industry and more specifically pharma and life sciences, but then to make it a little bit more tangible and real and to suggest certain frameworks and tools that can help make better operating and operations decisions. Thank you.